Arvind Subramanian is joining us. Arvindji, thanks so much for joining us. First of all, many compliments for what most people consider an absolutely outstanding economic survey, the one that you presented yesterday. A couple of the big ideas from the economic survey, I think there was some expectation we might see reference to it in the budget, and I'm talking specifically about universal basic income and also the idea of PARA, or an asset reconstruction facility. Didn't actually see either of those, but how would you rate the budget overall? And are you disappointed that those two didn't come in?
Well, on the budget itself, let's talk about that. I think that, first of all, I think very solid, consistent path of fiscal consolidation continues, a steady path, which is what I've always advocated. So the fiscal prudence and discipline continue. Given that constraint and given the constraints on revenue next year, I think there's been an appropriate increase in spending, including on capital expenditure. So I think the macro part of the budget, I think, is good. I think the abolition of the FIPB, Foreign Investment Public Promotion Board, is a very welcome step to further liberalise FDI. And I think on the tax side, I think there are some very interesting proposals. I think a middle-class tax relief, especially for the lower tax rate people, corporate tax rates cut for small and medium enterprises, and the first steps towards cleaning up election finance. I'm not an expert on this, but it seems like very solid first steps have been taken. So overall, I think I'm very pleased with the budget. And in terms of the disappointments, I've not given up. You should carefully listen to the finance minister over the next today and tomorrow. I think you will hear something on some of these things. On the para, I think it's something that remember that not all announcements and everything have to be made in the budget. I think the recognition that the banking sector needs some serious policy attention is high in the minds of policymakers, and the fact that it's not mentioned here, is not any sign that this is not still on the agenda.
Arvind Subramanian, the amazing thing about the economic survey was that it, apart from being wide-ranging, like this budget, most impressive in its scope, the economic survey focused on 2 or 3 key worrying areas of the economy. One was the negative investment of the private, the problem of the private sector, negative investment, negative credit, that's one. Do you feel enough was done for that to boost the private sector?
Yeah, I think a couple of things there. Sorry.
Go ahead, yeah.
Sorry, Proy, I missed the last part. Let me respond. I think in terms of what's done for the private sector, I think reducing tax rates for small and medium enterprises is, I think, very positive. I think public investment increasing is also positive. I think those are 2 very good things. I think that, remember that as we know that part of the problem is also inadequate demand. I think that, therefore, giving this tax break to the middle class will boost consumption as well. Hopefully, exports will revive, as we said in the economic survey, and that will lead to some endogenous increase in private investment. But, I think considering the circumstances, especially on the tax side, on the steps towards election cleanup, I think it's a very solid, encouraging budget.
Mr. Subramanian, just wanted to ask you on one of the big signals that the finance minister did give, and he gave statistics on the fact, big problem in India is that we're not a very tax compliant society. Those statistics were real and they were frightening. Did he take enough steps, in your view, to try and fix the problem? He correctly identified the problem that we are a tax incompliant society, and so the burden falls on the honest. But did he take enough steps to fix that problem?
Yeah. See, remember that this is a long-standing, intractable problem, and we've made slow progress over the years. So the question is, what are the things that have been done in this budget to encourage, one, of course, reducing the tax rate for the lower income bracket should help, as the finance minister said. Making it easy with this form, also saying that if you're a first-time taxpayer, there won't be, the government machinery won't be, come down heavy-handed on you. I think that's very important. So I think in that sense, also, I think that, the fact that the government now is able to say that we have a lot of data, I think that is a very important signal as well, which should, I think, work towards increasing compliance. But it's going to be a slow process. I don't think you do these things overnight or you achieve gains overnight. But I think the fact that it's so high in the minds of policymakers and a lot is beginning to being done, I think is a very encouraging sign. By the way, it's something that the survey highlighted last year. It's highlighted it this year as well. So I think it's a very good thing. One last point I would say is that one of the things we said in the survey was that the follow-up to demonetization should include bringing real estate into GST, but also should include general reduction in tax rates, and I think you see that in this year's budget.
But only for the small and medium industries. Just on that electoral funding, you say you're not an expert, but just by observation, if you talk to political parties, this is about the biggest election generating black money, UP and Punjab. And we've been told by really senior people involved that there's an innovation that's come in this time. Normally, you see elections, money being carted in ambulances. This time, black money is being carted in police cars and police vans. And apparently, electoral bonds can also be carried in both those methods. One last thing, though, on NPAs. And you highlight so strongly in the budget about public sector banks, the sharp increase in bad debts going up to 12%. In this budget, there's 10,000 crores for restructuring, am I right? That's just a drop in the ocean.
Yeah.
Is that more to expect later? Couldn't something have been done in the budget?
Well, I think that, as I said earlier, Pranoy, I think that the banking is a difficult, intractable problem, and I think that it's going to occupy policy attention in the months ahead. The fact that by the way, there was something in terms of the tax treatment of provisioning has been relaxed, so I think that's going to improve the profitability to some extent of the banks. But I think that the fact that it's not been mentioned in the budget is not a reason to believe that more is not going to be done, and the government is going to work very hard on this very important policy issue.
Well, we'll all be watching, and I hope you'll be pushing as well. Thanks very much for joining us, Arvind.
Thanks.
Yeah.